I'm delighted to welcome today Anna Thellman, who is a sexual intimacy coach. How super is that? I think you're very brave having that title, Anna. So obviously the first question is going to be, what is a sexual intimacy coach? Over to you.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Elaine. I'm here again, which is nice. And brave, yes, but people also call me crazy for being a sexual intimacy coach. So I know both sides. And what it is to be a sexual intimacy coach, it's because I love to talk about intimacy. I love to talk about sex, and not in the perspective that, oh, let's talk about sex all the time. But I feel okay, talk about everything sexual and being open to that and listening to people and asking questions about it. And I think that's very important to have, particularly because we're currently in a society where that topic gets a bit pushed under the rug and don't talk about it and don't go into too much detail. And I even got asked to change the name of a presentation because it has masturbation on it. So we're at that level, and I want to be an advocate to reopen the conversation and talk about sexual intimacy, because every one of us wants to have a fulfilled sexual intimate life, because that makes a relationship even better, and that makes ourselves, the connection, the reaction that we have with our body even better, because sexual intimacy isn't just about our partner and the sex we have. It's about us and our body. And we forget that so often, that first and foremost, it's about you or me or whoever is there. So it's about you and your body, to have that connection, feeling the pleasure and enjoying that.
Wow, that is very brave. And coming from a family, I didn't know this actually until many, many years later, but my father and my mother never ever saw each other with no clothes on.
What?
Yes. And it's no surprise that I'm self-conscious. Well, I was. I'm not so much these days, but I grew up being self-conscious about my body. I was a swimmer. I was a competitive swimmer in my teens, and obviously in the changing rooms. But in those days, we had cubicles, or when we had the group changing facilities, we'd all be hiding under towels, you know, and wriggling around, getting our costumes on and off, because we wouldn't, we wouldn't be seen. It wasn't just me. There was a few people like me, but that's the generation that I grew up in. So it's really interesting that you're taking things to the nth degree. And I'm also finding that I'm coming into contact with people who are naturists. I'd never heard of this way of living. So this is a whole new area for me, completely, I'm like, wow, really? So your program is called Get Your Orgasm Back. Now, tell us what that's all about.
Well, it is what you sign up for. It's to get your orgasm back, but it's mainly not. It is about having the sex. Don't get me wrong. It is about getting that orgasm, but it's more about your mind, because that's where it starts. People come to me when they want sex, but don't have sex, and that usually starts in your mind, because, like you said, you might be self-conscious. You don't want to show your body to your partner. You don't want to show your body when the lights are on, or you had a baby and your body has changed and now you feel very insecure. But it's also when one of my clients, she was in her 50s, and she said, I'm not that person that I was 20, 30 years ago. So I compare myself with that person, how I perform in the bedroom, and I fall short. And now I don't want to do it because it feels like an effort. Mm-hmm. So we work on that mindset. I help my clients to accept the good, the bad, and the ugly that we all have, and be okay with it, and to quieten that self-shaming and self-sabotaging chatter in their head, so that they can rediscover themselves. Because often what I find is that you are used to a certain thought pattern that you have, and you think that's you. So you say, I'm a perfectionist. I need control. or I love to help people. And most often that's not the case. It's just that voice in your head that you grew so used to listen to, and now you identify yourself with that voice, and that is the voice that then holds you back from experiencing that pleasure, to, like the naturalist, just throw your clothes away and say, this is me, here we go. Because when we quieten that, then we come back to almost to this child state where we didn't have any thoughts in our head of conscious or self-consciousness. It's like, this is me, this is who I am, and that's okay. And that's a great state to be in.
Absolutely. I can honestly say I am in that state, but not with the intimacy side of things. I've been happily single now for 19 years. And I've had, the odd boyfriend here and there, and everything's fine. I'm not going to go into all that side of things about me. And I've had 3 husbands, so I'm, quite okay with all that side of things, shall we say. But you mentioned the comparison, the client who compared younger age to older age. And I guess that must be quite a common theme, particularly for women. Men don't seem to age quite so drastically, shall we say, as women do, and all our bits and bobs sag, and we grow around our middle. I know men do as well, but it just seems to be more a more self-conscious thing for women. So do you find women and men have different approaches to the sexual intimacy side of life?
Well, from my experience, men identify themselves more with the success they have. So it's less about the body, but who they are, what they have achieved, who they know, what they have. And us women, we are more on the softer side, like, how do we look? What do we think? How do we feel? So that's why women more often come to that point where they compare their bodies with other women's bodies and say, but they also then, there are people or women who say, I'm this age, it's okay that I look like this because I'm 40, 50 now. It's okay to have cellulite. It's okay to have the boobs further down, or whatever's happening with your body. But most often they don't believe it. It's just a justification to say, I push it away. I just want something to quieten my mind for now, so I don't think about it, and this is my reason for not thinking about it.
So do you find that, how did you find this kind of niche? Was it that you were a coach, a mindset coach anyway, and then you kept having these questions asked? How did you get from ordinary coaching to this specific niche?
So yeah, I was a mindset coach before, a life coach in general, but I had, and that's my question to you as well, masturbation. When you're single, how is your masturbation life? And for me, even being in a relationship long-term now, I had this idea that when I masturbate, I need to have this big, bold fantasy, and it needs to get bigger and bolder every time. And as soon as I have a different thought coming in, I was going into panicky mode. Oh my God, I'm losing it. I'm losing the feeling. My body was tensioning up, and it was having that orgasm was more like a pain relief from all the tension that I built up. And I thought, that can't be it. It's not pleasurable anymore. And I had this thought coming out of the shower one morning, thinking, if all of these tools work, why wouldn't they work in the vacuum? So I thought, let's try to make my orgasm when I masturbate more pleasurable and see if it works. And I used the tools that I thought would help me in that situation. And I had such an amazing, easy flowing orgasm without fantasy, without tension. It was just like from tip to toe, amazing. And I thought, this is it. I need to share this. We can do something. If you don't have an orgasm, it's in your mind, and I can help you to get there.
When you talk about tools, describe, I know what you're talking about, but I'm not sure all of the audience will do. So what do you mean by tools?
Okay, so in that particular situation, what I did first is I quietened my voice, that inner voice that tells us you need to do stuff like this, or you shouldn't do things, or this negative self-talk. So I quietened that first so that my mind was clear. And what I did next is I refocused on my body. And I did a technique, which I love to do, is to just touch my body somewhere, not particularly on my breast or somewhere. It's just feeling the surface, concentrating on the surface, on the structure, on the warmth of your skin, and do that for 2 minutes so that you refocus to the present. And then I used my bunny toy. It's not a vibrator, it's actually just has 2 bunny ears. But that helped me, or I love to use it, but now my dogs have just killed it, unfortunately. But anyway, so, and that was the physical tool that I used, but the emotion, not the emotional, the mindset tools were to quieten that voice and bring your focus back to the present where you are now.
Thank you for that explanation. How does your partner take to the new niche that you have now? Well, I say new, it's you've kind of gravitated over a period of time into this niche. What does he think about all this?
So what do you think that he thinks?
I would imagine he's proud of you, but also embarrassed at the same time. I don't know, but
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we have an agreement that when we go to business events from his side, then I'm a coach. We don't go into the deep end and say I'm a sexual intimacy coach, because he feels uncomfortable with it. He's proud of me, like you said. Yes, he thinks it's amazing that I have my business here and that I help people in that way. But for him, it's this 2 worlds coming together. He's not there yet. I think he will eventually, but right now it's like, let's keep it down.
Are there any cultural differences, Anna? Because I think you're German originally, but you're living in China and your partner's English. Are there any cultural differences in this topic, this area?
Well, he's actually German as well, and we.
Oh, beg your pardon. Oh, sorry. I knew there was England is involved. Okay, right. Sorry.
Yeah, but you could say, because he likes to say that he's from the north of Germany and I'm from the south of Germany. And the north, or the people in the north, they are said to be very distant yet loving, very closed up, and don't want to talk about their personal feelings, their personal life, etc. And the people from down south, from Bavaria, they are, even though it's a very Catholic province, they are said to be like simple and not more open, but they don't care so much about other people's opinion.
That's the same in England, and I suppose why I've got this kind of dichotomy, because I was born in Chesterfield, which is kind of middle upper area in it's not it is the north, but it's not, seriously north, in my view anyway. But it's a very reserved kind of area. People, you don't see, well, you didn't when I grew up, you didn't see people walking down the street holding hands, and never saw anybody kissing in public. And then my mother was from the south, and there's a complete contrast there as well. So it's very interesting in the world that we live in now, with all these multicultural, multi-diverse, multi-generational. So the older people and the younger people, that's one kind of area. And then you've got the culture differences, and the whole thing is a complete, potential minefield, really, isn't it? But I think it goes back to what you were saying about the mindset. And if you are comfortable in your own skin, it doesn't matter who you are, where you live, what your beliefs are. But if you believe in yourself, you're comfortable in yourself, then I think that's a great starting point.
Yes, because then you focus more on yourself and don't focus on the others around you and what they do and what they think or how they behave, etc.
Absolutely. I wish we taught this at school, but of course it takes an age to learn all this stuff. So it's great that we've got people like you that are helping along the way. So how do people get hold of you, Anna?
Well, people can find me on LinkedIn under Anna Thellman, or they can send me an email at anna@annathellman.com.
Marvelous. What's the top tip that you would give to somebody who's kind of feeling a bit freaked out about this topic, or maybe they've got some issues in their relationship, or maybe they're, completely frigid, whatever? Where would somebody start? Well, I guess give you a call, send you an email.
Yeah, that would be ideal. But it really depends on where you're coming from, what your path is to not having an orgasm. The first thing is what I also do with my clients. The first thing we learn is to get control back over our thoughts. So be aware of what is that self-talk that you have all day. And it's probably 80% negative. So be aware of that. And if possible, try to switch it to being more loving, more compassionate towards yourself.
Brilliant. Easier said than done for many people. Thank you so much for your time today, Anna. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and catching up on your amazing niche. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine.